The Dragon Ball Super Remake has a chance to fix everything that went wrong the first time around. And if it actually takes the opportunity, this could end up being the definitive version of Super. Because, as much as I like Super, it was pretty divisive, mainly due to the rough production, especially towards the start. But now they have a chance to improve the story, clean up the animation, and even bring ideas from outside the anime. So if they really want to make this work, here's what I'd want to see them change. When Dragon Ball came back in the 2010s, it was genuinely exciting. We had Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, and then out of nowhere, we get a brand new Dragon Ball anime and manga. It seemed like a dream, I never thought this would happen. But the anime clearly wasn't ready. The production was rushed, the schedule was tight, and they had to readapt the movies that had just come out, which made it even more noticeable when things didn't look great. It ended up hurting the show's reputation early on, and even Akira Toriyama himself complained about it. It did improve over time as it went on, with better animation, music, and fights, but that first impression stuck with a lot of people, who dropped the show altogether and dismissed it. At the same time though, expanding the films into the anime wasn't a horrible idea. It gave us more time with Beerus outside of the party, extended some of the fights, added new locations that helped the story breathe a bit more, and teased what was to come. And overall, it was just fun to have Dragon Ball again, even if it didn't always live up to the expectations. Having Toriyama involved was a huge plus, and with the manga running alongside it, there was always something to look forward to. As the series went on, the differences between the anime and the manga became even more noticeable. Instead of bringing back Super Saiyan God, the anime gave us Kaioken Blue. Instead of Trunks becoming Kaioshin Apprentice, we got Super Saiyan Rage. These aren't necessarily bad ideas, but they show just how different the two versions of Super really are, and why the remake has the unique opportunity to bridge the gap. This is something I've always believed. The best version of Dragon Ball Super is somewhere between the anime and the manga. The anime has some of the best fights and emotional heights, but the manga introduces a lot of really interesting ideas that never made it in. And honestly, it's my preferred version of the two. Things like Goku and Vegeta perfecting Super Saiyan Blue so it stops leaking energy, Goku using Hakai, Gohan fighting Kefla, or the kids fighting against Cell Juniors at Android 17's island all add something meaningful. It's not perfect, of course, and there are moments where it feels a bit off, like Goku using Hakai without ever really seeing it. But that's exactly why a remake could work so well. Meet somewhere in the middle. This is an extremely high hope, and I doubt they'll actually bring a lot of that in. But in a world where that does happen, it doesn't need to fully adapt the manga. It just needs to take the best ideas from both versions and bring them together into one. We do know some of it will likely be brought in, like Goku's image training against the villains, which is shown in the manga but not in the anime. Another advantage the remake has is hindsight. They already know where the story is going, so they can plant small moments early on that pay off later. Things like Vegeta and Bulma mentioning future Trunks, Piccolo hinting that Gohan has more potential, looking towards Beast, or small character moments like Piccolo saying he wants to train Pan. They could go a long way in making the story feel more connected. It would feel less like separate arcs and more like one continuous story, which is something Z did really well. At the same time, there are probably some things that will not change, controversial moments that exist in both, like Trunks giving Maya senzu bean and the joke about Goku never kissing Chi-Chi are in both versions, so they'll still likely be there. Now, realistically, this isn't going to be a full rewrite. From what we've seen at Hurt, this is more of a renewed, enhanced edition, rather than something completely new. It's still using the original animation as a skeleton. That means it's still going to follow the general structure of the anime, just with improved visuals and some added touches. Big changes like giving Goku Black Super Saiyan, Goku Sakai, or completely restructuring arcs would require rewriting entire sections of the story with new animation, which is probably beyond the scope of this project. Like, I know a lot of people would want the Goku Black ending to be erased, replaced with something new, but similar things happen in both versions. They're not gonna completely change it, so we better get used to having two future Trunkses in one timeline. We'll definitely get some new or added stuff here and there though, but even smaller additions or adjustments could still make a noticeable difference. One area where we can absolutely improve things without without changing the structure too much is the pacing, especially in the Tournament of Power. That arc has some of the highest highs in Dragon Ball, but it also drags a lot on rewatches because there are so many fights that no one really cares about. Tightening that arc and cutting down some of the dead space would make it feel so much better without losing what makes it so great. There are also smaller things I'd love to see improved, like the visual variety of certain arcs. The Goku Black arc is a perfect example, where we spend so much time in the future timeline with the same green sky and destroyed city. It makes sense for the setting, but it also makes the arc feel repetitive. Even small changes in lighting or atmosphere would go a long way in making it feel more dynamic, especially with the sky. I really don't like that green sky. It just drains a lot of the energy out of what should be a really intense arc. The Tournament of Power had a similar issue with taking place on one single location for so long, but it does a better job at changing things up. The sky color changes, the arena gets destroyed, stuff like that. Oh, and blood. I'm not one to ask for blood splatters everywhere like some fans do, but I do miss the grittiness of Z with it. Here's hoping. Tone is another area that could be improved without requiring major changes. A lot of people feel like Super lacks some of the tension that Z had, and while I don't think that's completely true, it does feel like certain characters, especially with someone like Beerus, became a lot more comedic over time. Early on, he felt like a real threat, but later on, he's more like a hangry uncle hanging around. From what we've heard, the staff is aware of this and want to bring some of that tension back, which would make the story feel more impactful for sure. During the Genki Matsuri event where this was announced, Beerus' voice actor, Koichi Yamadera, explained how their aim is to make Beerus scary again and have the tension return. And it seems like this is the larger aim for the show as a whole, to make it a bit more serious, prettier and tighter, and more in line with Akira Toriyama's notes. The website also specifies that this is an enhanced edition to express Akira Toriyama's original idea and world building more accurately, that it'll be broadcast with highly satisfying quality. So the story itself, I believe, will be improved over the original. I also kinda hope they make Goku a bit more serious and less goofy. I never had an issue as much as other people do, but he's definitely maybe a bit too childish at times. There's also a lot to be said about the power progression of the show. Listen, I love Krillin being involved. He's one of my favorite characters. I don't mind it as much as other people, but it is a bit hard to buy Roshi, Tien, and Krillin jumping all the way to the Saiyans levels. I know some people were just hoping that they would erase God in base, since they didn't show Goku returning to Super Saiyan or base form in the first trailer. But with the second trailer at the Battle Hour, we know that's not true. I just hope they maybe streamline it a little bit and make it make more sense. The one arc that suffered the most during the original run was Resurrection F. That was a great chance to expand on a story that was actually kinda lacking in the film. Sure, we saw more of the training with Whis, which was great, but much of it was still left up in the air. Even a bit more of a deep dive into Super Saiyan Blue, or Frieza's time before coming to Earth, would have been great. Not to mention the fact that this section of Super is where the animation really suffered the most, with some ugly episodes. If any arc could use a remaster, it's this one, and I'm curious to see how they'll approach it. The new trailer at the Battle Hour already showed us Frieza regenerating. I was honestly a bit surprised. I didn't think we'd get it so soon. I just wonder if they're gonna stick with the subtitle thing, like is this gonna be Dragon Ball Super Golden Frieza or something like that? Or will it still be a part of Beerus, since oftentimes those two arcs are put on the single umbrella of the God of Destruction saga. After the arc, Gohan also mentions that he will start training, but we don't actually see it happen much. This led to a lot of people complaining about Gohan's inconsistent characterization through the story, since he seems to dip in and out. A reminder about Gohan actively trying to catch up would show his growth, even if he does take a step back again for his research in superhero. The audience can at least be assured that he isn't totally gone, justifying his line about practicing the special beam cannon and the path towards Beast. Universe 6 is also seen as pretty boring by most, but Akira Toriyama's original intention was to make a fun little story in between heavier arcs. And as far as that goes, it accomplished its goal. The best thing they can do without reanimating the whole thing and reworking the story is just making it prettier and pumping up the excitement with music and snappier fights. There are also some smaller, more specific things I'd love to see adjusted in individual arcs. In the Goku Black arc, it would be nice to get a bit more explanation for things like Super Saiyan Rage, since they're probably going to keep it, even if they don't fully change it. For the Tournament of Power, I'd love to see some of the manga's Ultra Instinct ideas incorporated. like Goku reflecting on his masters, and his speech about his heart being as calm as the streams of Mount Pautsu. Shout out to my friend Deshaun, who always talks about this line. I know he loves it. And honestly, I know many don't like it, but Roshi's dodging against Jiren is awesome. I know I complained about the power, but I can't help it. I think this is really cool. They're definitely not going to add it, but man, I would love to see it animated. Same with the Kefla Gohan fight. It's never gonna happen, but I like how Gohan gets that big hurrah, especially with the purple gi. But that fight is also really short in the manga, and the one in the anime is just too good, containing one of my favorite Kamehamehas ever. But if there's one scene I definitely want added from the manga, is Goku's glimpse at Oob before the Tournament of Power. He is mentioned in the anime by Dende as Goku travels to 17's island, but in the manga they briefly sense each other, and we see him in his island. He's such a symbolically important character that he deserves a bit more attention and foreshadowing, especially if we hope to ever move beyond the end of Z. My biggest and craziest hope is that they implement stuff from Dragon Ball Daima. The Dragon Ball canon is all over the place now, and there's basically just a bunch of different canons. But I would really like to see some ideas from Daima in Super, like Majin Raimus, the creator of the multiverse and the one who chose the Kaioshin. He's basically the creator to Zeno's Destroyer. Vegeta's Super Saiyan 3 and Goku's Super Saiyan 4 are also obvious ideas to bring in, but that would take a lot more changes, and the chances are that we won't get them. I think the one shot we had to get that was Beerus' slap to Bulma, and Vegeta bursting into Super Saiyan 3 there. It would have been perfect and would have gotten me even more hyped for the remake, but it's a little bit late for that. Maybe there's still a chance we get Super Saiyan 4 Goku at King Kai's planet, but I don't think so. The Demon Realm itself and how it works is pretty interesting. So even if those exact events from Daima didn't happen, mentions of the realm beyond the universes and how much older it is, and maybe characters from it or the pointy ear stuff would be really cool to get mentions without too much commitment in Super. I would really love to revisit some aspects of Dragon Ball Daima one day, though I'm fine with it being a one-off for now. I will say I'm gonna miss some stuff of the original Super that they'll likely not keep, especially those filler slice-of-life episodes. I could watch an entire series of these characters just doing mundane things. So you can probably say goodbye to the baseball episode or Krillin stuff before the Tournament of Power, which I personally really like, so I'll miss it. What I don't think anyone's gonna miss though is Potafu Vegeta. It's kinda crazy to return to Super after so many years. Quite a few voice actors have passed away since then. Characters like Bulma and King Kai will have their new voices all the way through. I'm definitely going to miss them, but I do hope this also means that King Kai in particular could appear a bit more in the future, since he was slowly phased out after Joji Yanami got sick. I wouldn't be surprised if Yamcha is replaced too, after the controversies of Toro Furuya. He wasn't in Daima either, even as an adult. At the end of the day, Dragon Ball Super isn't a bad series, but its great ideas never fully reached its potential. This remake feels like a chance to finally bring everything together and create the version of Dragon Ball Super people have always wanted. It's just the first step into a new Dragon Ball era. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. I really want to know what you would want to see in the Dragon Ball Super remake. This was a little bit of a different discussion. I don't usually do opinion pieces like this, but I thought it'd be fun. Let me know what you think and if you'd like to see more of my personal opinions in this kind of format. And if you'd like more deep dives into Dragon Ball, then be sure to check out my analysis of Frieza.